Oh my goodness. Hello, and welcome to the Rickcast. I am Rick, and in a sea of vapid and pompous podcasts, well, it's another one. So I hope you all are having a fantastic night tonight. The 16th of January, 2025. January is flying by. No, it's not. Yeah, it's winter. Everybody's miserable. It's fine. You can be. Be happy though now, because in about 5 days we about to get blasted with another polar vortex, and that's gonna make everybody's life extremely miserable. So I guess the moral of the story is don't complain, because it can always be worse. And apparently, like the Midwest, that whole Great Lakes region, you guys are about to get it and get it pretty good. But I guess you sign up for that when you live up there. Either way, at least your homes are built for it. See, in the South, when we get these cold fronts, we do not have the housing for it. Our housing is not. It gets cold because these houses ain't worth it. But that's okay. We're not going to talk about the polar vortex because the weather outside is weather, and so we're not going to worry about that too much. What we are going to talk about tonight, we got some stories here for you. Oop, I got my sound on this one that I don't want. There we go. What we are going to be speaking about tonight in a more professional manner, we are going to be talking about Ashley Moody. She got the pick. She got the call. So she is going to be the next Florida senator for as long as she wants, because those jobs, that's hard to beat an incumbent. That's why those jobs are so sought after when there's an open seat, which is why it's a big deal that Trump wants Vivek in the Ohio Senate. I talked about this yesterday. Good evening, Mark. Great to see you. Thank you for hanging out with us. Because once you get in there, it's such a cush job. You don't do anything. You get paid a lot of money. You get treated like royalty. That's why most of them don't leave unless they're power-hungry psychos, in which case they want to be president. Most of them don't become one outside of Obama. But the idea is those jobs are pretty sought after, and we'll talk about that when we get to Ashley Moody. The FBI is shutting down its DEI program in advance of Kash Patel showing up. So it looks like Kash Patel is already doing or producing good fruit in regards to the whole, he's going to be there, and it's going to be nice. I'm not going to talk about Doug Burnham, his confirmation hearing, because it's Doug Burnham or whatever his name is. I don't even know. He's so boring. I don't even know his name. No offense to the guy. The guy's a billionaire, and he's obviously had a successful political run, but the guy's about as exciting as, white toast. And my apologies to white toast. So we aren't going to cover the confirmation hearing. I pretty much have an hour, and I don't want to waste your time talking about Doug Bergman's confirmation hearing. So you got to keep it a little jazzy. Joe Biden's farewell address, it happened as we left yesterday. I am not going to show the whole thing because it's brutal. We'll talk about it a little bit, and then I need a haircut. I actually missed my haircut on the 3rd. Look at this thing. This thing is bushy. It is quite magnificent if I actually took care of it. Joe Biden's farewell address went about as well as you would imagine it went, which means it's not. We're going to talk about it real quick. Just the idea. The ideas that were planted in it, but not much after that. And then finally, I didn't want to do 4 political stories because this is not a politics show. This is a show about the news of the day. And so usually, like, when this, Lou, don't worry, Lou, it's not going to be, I'll make it, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. I get it. But since this is not a political show, it is a talk show. It's a show. I want to talk about something else besides that. And the Daredevil Reborn trailer dropped. We're going to save that for the end for you guys. Some of you guys are like, I don't care about Daredevil. Listen, I love the original Netflix Daredevil. Daredevil is, Daredevil was one of my 3 favorite superheroes growing up. It was Spider-Man, Punisher, and the Daredevil. Those are my 3 favorites growing up. And so I really liked the Netflix series. Disney is absolute trash. Positive reception on the Daredevil Reborn trailer. So we'll see how that goes. So we're going to watch it. I don't know if that's going to strike my channel. I have my fair use warning or my fair use statute ready to go for both Disney and YouTube. I don't know about Rumble or X, but I have them ready to go. And then we'll move on from there. So it's going to be a great show. I got some hot takes before just some things that are of note, but I don't think are really important enough to spend over 5 minutes on because, you know, your time is valuable. Apparently so is mine. So anyway, before I get to that, let me do some quick shilling. My book, The Armed Catholic, The Catholic Case for Guns and Self-Defense, is available at Amazon.com. It's a great book. Go buy it. It's only 75 pages for all you ADDers out there. Second one, coming up in a couple of weeks, I will be the Masters of Ceremonies at the 15th Annual Catholic Men's Conference of the Carolinas, February 8th, 2025. A great roster of speakers: the Bishop of Charleston, John Frankman, Anthony and Rob from Avoiding Babylon, John Edwards, myself, and Enoch, who will be performing and speaking as well. It is going to be a great day. I would love to see you there. You can get your tickets at the website of Catholic Men of the Carolinas.org. That is Catholic Men of the Carolinas.org. Love to see you all there. It's going to be a good time. Let's see. I know John Edwards is fantastic. So having him there, it's going to be a lot of fun. And I'm very happy to have him there. They're all going to be great. So we'll see how that goes. Let's get some hot ones. Not hot ones, hot takes. Some hot takes in before we get to our stories of the day. First up, let me see. I'm going to get myself back up here. The first one, earlier today, you had President DJT, Donald J. Trump, fire this sucker off. And everybody was like, okay. And of course, I do credit Trump, even though he is now the president-elect, about to be the president, still hasn't come back to Twitter. He is going to ride or die on True Social. So good for him. It is my honor to announce John Voight, Mel Gibson, and Sylvester Stallone, the Rocky guy, he punches well, to be the special ambassadors to a great but very troubled place, Hollywood, California. They will serve as special envoys for me for the purpose of bringing back Hollywood, which has lost so much business, so much, over the last 4 years to foreign countries, back, bigger, better, and stronger than ever before. These three talented people will be in my eyes and my ears, and will get done what they suggest. It will be like the United States itself, the golden age of Hollywood. I don't know what this means. Being a special envoy to Hollywood, treating California as a foreign state is actually a pretty sly move by the Trumpster. Kind of funny too, if you think about it. But I don't know. I guess he's just handing out titles at this point. You know, you get to be the special envoy to Hollywood, the special envoy to Florida. You know, here. It's like an executive producer credit. Everybody gets one, and he doesn't mean anything. Ooh, I almost spilled that. Right? How do I spill something I'm drinking? I'm a pretty talented guy. Let's see here. So this flashed across the tweet streams, the timelines, and people are saying, well, what's this all about? What's going on here? I don't know. I think this is more just like a way to try and get, I don't know. I really don't. I got nothing on you. I know people are talking about it. People much smarter than me are. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below, what this means. If we could get like McCarthy Trials 2.0 to root out the communists, that would be the best. Could you imagine like Mel Gibson leading that? Just absolutely off the walls. That would be fantastic. Sylvester Stallone, gotta love the guy. Somebody pointed out, I think it was Joe Enders. Stallone is a Catholic, right? He's a Catholic. He's never been very pronouncing about it. Mel, there's a lot of stuff with Mel. He's a son of a contest, which you should be impressed that I can say that. But he made Passion of the Christ. He's working on the second one. A lot of hope for Mel. He's also been through a lot, so you don't make a movie like Passion of the Christ without being tested by demons. So you got to pray for him. And then John Voight, looking into it, his mother was Catholic, which means he might have been baptized. He doesn't talk about it. The best I could find was a strong Catholic upbringing that he had. So yes, I am a Catholic, so I kind of gotta drop that in. So 2 out of the 3, well, all 3 have roots in the faith, which means we'll see how that goes. Yes, it's time to reinstate the Hays Code. Isn't it the Hays Code? I believe it's the Hays Code. It's the Hays Code comic books. One of them's the code. Yeah, we need those. Yes, right. Let's perp walk most of the Hollywood stars, the ones that support the specific groups, maybe islands. I don't know. We'll see. But this may be just something of a ceremony. This is most likely a ceremonial position. So we'll move on from that. But this came across the timeline, and let's see how that plays out. I'm guessing like you, it's not going to be much. Next hot one, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see. Oh, I deleted the wrong thing. As I normally do. Interesting enough, we had a segment last night talking about Joe Biden banning cigarettes and his FDA banning cigarettes. Now the FDA has approved Zins. I got nothing wrong with that. The FDA, and this was today, wasn't yesterday, they're talking about banning cigarettes outright, but yet they're going to approve Zyn nicotine pouches. The FDA has authorized marketing for Zyn after years-long review, found evidence these nicotine pouches could offer greater benefits to the population health than risk. And then the FDA news release, FDA authorizes marketing of 20 Zyn nicotine pouch products after extensive scientific research. Now, of course, Marlboro, I think it's Marlboro owns Zyn, because this was the big problem that happened during the election. Maybe you heard about it, maybe you didn't. Marlboro, or who owns Zyn? Yep. This always happens. I never think of this stuff, and when I'm putting the show together, and then it comes up halfway through. Zyn, Philip Morris, there it is. This was a big deal because Philip Morris donated heavily to Kamala and to the Democratic Party. Not a shock. So that's why I think, Tucker came out with his Alps. He's coming out with his own nicotine pouches, Alps, and then there's a bunch of others. I know there's one called Knick Knack, which is just lozenges. It's not even pouches. It dissolves all the way. Yes, of course. If you can't trust the FDA, Lou, who can you trust? Wink. So yeah, on the one hand, cigarettes are bad, okay? On the other hand, pouches are good, okay? So it's kind of ridiculous. Zins are very, very popular. Very popular. There are priests that I know that use them. A bunch of buddies I know use them. That's why it was a huge deal when it found out that Philip Morris was giving money to the Democrats. Now, it wasn't a huge story, and most guys who use Zyn don't really care that happens. And I don't, if you're going to my whole thing with boycotts is if you're going to boycott everything that hates you, you're not going to have anything, which I guess is kind of the point. But you got to be selective. I don't boycott Amazon. A lot of people do. The one boycott I stay strong on is Starbucks. And that's pretty easy because their coffee's terrible. So it's not I'm missing something out there. I boycott that. I boycott Disney. I boycott some basic stuff. I pick 4 or 5 things that I don't use. And then the rest of them, that is. I mean, that's good that, other people love Zins and whatever the case may be. I myself might not actually be too opposed to nicotine pouches and things like that, especially as the workday is pretty demanding and so forth. So I don't want to promote any companies that do not pay me. I just mentioned that there are, have I? Would I be opposed to them? No. Do I find them valuable? Yes. But there is the point that the left side doesn't know what the right side is doing as far as the federal government. Hysterical. Also, Philip Morris just passed the FDA check and they cashed it and they approved it after their years-long study. But it's always hysterical to see them do that after sitting on the high horse and talking about health and all this other stuff and this, that, and third. And now they're like, oh yeah, by the way, you can have Zins though. Just let everybody have everything they want. If people want to smoke cigarettes, let them smoke cigarettes. If they want to use Zins, let them use Zins. Don't be nannies. Nobody wants the government to be a nanny state. Well, I mean, there are some people, but for them, they have masks and conventions anyway. Moving on to our third hot take. Looks like Elon Musk, he didn't suffer a failure. I mean, this is a failure, but just about a couple hours ago, they launched a Starship and it broke up and it failed as it was going up. So it was a nice light show. It's Godzilla. It broke up in the atmosphere. Everybody's like, ooh, that's crazy. Blah, 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 blah. And so it is what it is. You can't, and I will give him credit that, as much as Elon Musk is really proving himself to be just a liberal moron on a lot of stuff, he is trying to advance science in different ways. And it looks like the Starship from SpaceX, which took off from southern Texas, broke up in the atmosphere. And hey, can't win them all. It just is what it is in that regard. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get to our first story of the day. I'm gonna itch my nose. I don't know why it's so itchy. You want Michael, I bet you want that in the Coca-Cola again. Right? Make Coke authentic again. Hey man, civilization survived for a long time with Coca-Cola being more Coke than cola. Let me say it that way. First story of the day. Back to that. I'm trying to get these segmented correctly so that way when I do them as segments, they actually look more professional. So with the appointment of Marco Rubio to the Secretary of State, which he's easily going to get confirmed, the spot in Florida was open. A lot of people from Florida have been picked up. And it's kind of like, oh, this, that, and the other, and this guy and that guy. What's going on? The idea was, who is going to be the next senator? Because Marco Rubio has left a void. Now, Florida is one of the states that does it correctly. I don't like the primary system to fill it. I like just pick somebody, let them fill out the term, and then in the next election, see if you can get rid of them. Because it's quick, it's clean. The governor has been given that authority by the state because it's really the last segment of the Senate retaining its original authority, which the Senate was supposed to represent the state. So you might as well have the governor just pick the senator and then just fill it and call it a day and move on. And so in this regard, you had who is going to fill this seat? Is it going to be Matt Gaetz? Nope, he's on One American News Network. He's now a news anchor. Is it going to be this person? Is it going to be Laura Trump? No, looks like she's going to go to North Carolina and she might primary Tom Tillis. And so what are we doing? Who's going to be? And it started to come out that this woman, Ashley Moody, who was the Attorney General of Florida, and I think she was currently the Attorney General of Florida, she was going to be appointed as the next senator to fill the spot. Now, as I said before, once she gets in that spot, barring a terrible job, and I mean truly awful, which, I mean, it doesn't even matter. Look at John Cornyn, who may be primaried by Ken Paxton. Who knows? I would vote for Paxton right now. I'll tell you that. But the idea is, barring terrible senators keep their positions. Terrible senators keep their jobs. It is what it is. So when you get this job, it's essentially for life. So this is Ashley Moody. She is now your representative. I'm going to put a big fat red alert on here in case you've never heard me before. Buckle up. I don't like females in politics. I just don't. I don't think women should be in politics. Is it because I'm a misogynist? No. It's because I don't feel the political arena is a place that caters to female strength. Female strength is empathy. Female strength is nurturing. Female strength is compromise. Female strength is a lot of the things that are antithetical to being successful in politics. And you can say, and I've had people, what about this person in politics? What about that? But there's not one woman, maybe outside of Margaret Thatcher, that has been truly notable and successful as a politician. Right? Because they're always trying to be men. They fall into one of two categories. They're always trying to be men. They always try to mimic men, or they're just super high test, like high super feminists. Right? They either act like men or they're feminists. It's one or the other. They don't, and so you really don't have women in the Senate. You have these tropes that women feel they have to be in order to be in politics. And that's the bad part. My best example to you is somebody by the name of Carrie Lake. Carrie Lake is an accomplished woman. Carrie Lake is very good behind a microphone because she was in the media. Carrie Lake is by far the worst politician I've seen in the 8 years I've been in the political scene. Now, that's not a long time. That's not a huge sample size. I get it. But there's been some pretty bad ones. She has been by far the worst. And the reason is she's too masculine. The butch haircut, the abrasive tone, all of these things turn people off. It's just the way it is. And it's not me trying to, I told you, she's very accomplished. She's very well spoken, but her demeanor and her approach are wrong. And that's why she always loses. She lost the governor's race. She lost the Senate race because she's trying to be Donald Trump. Nobody's Donald Trump, especially a female. Nobody wants a female Donald Trump, which is weird, right? I feel like a woman. Like, nobody wants that. And so women are having a tough time. How long have women been in politics yet we still struggle to find competent women? AOC is another example. I'll give you two. AOC on one hand and Lauren Boebert or Marjorie Taylor Greene on the other. Yeah, right, Steph. She has never lost a race. Not in her little mind. I'll give you AOC and who's the lady from Minnesota? The Somalian from Minnesota. I forgot it. Those two on that hand, and Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert on the other. Terrible example. Awful within the political frame. So I'm not trying that. I don't want this to turn into a 15-minute. Amy Klobuchar is another one. That's correct. I was the one in the House, the Somalian. I know I have to say it that way. Tlaib? Yeah. I think no, it's not Tlaib. So there's that. Why am I saying all this? I don't like the selection of another female to the Senate. Amar, right? Ilhan Omar. Thank you. Yes, thank you. Now, I'm going to say this will be my last point. Then I want to get back to Ashley Moody. Mark, Lauren Boebert and AOC both amuse me. I like them because they amuse me, because they run around and they act like fools. Nancy Mace is another example of a female that shouldn't be in politics. I can't stand her, and she's a conservative hero. I can't stand her. Anyway, moving on. Ashley Moody may be accomplished, but I don't like, we couldn't find a man to lead us in this part. We couldn't find a man to be in there. And I get what DeSantis was under. I get what he's under. If he doesn't select a woman, he's going to get it from Steph, I'm going to ignore that comment. If he's going to get it from the right, why didn't you pick a woman? Why didn't you? It's always the thing. You got to pick a woman. Why? Why can't it just be that a competent man can do this job? No, it's got to be a woman in this regard. So let's take a look at some of the things from that. There's another reason why he picked her, but let's get to it. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has appointed Florida Attorney General Ashley Moody to be the Senate's next U.S. Senator, state's U.S. Senator. The announcement comes after President-elect Donald Trump nominated Marco Rubio. 5 things you need to know. Law enforcement runs in her family. She spent her career in the justice system, working as a federal prosecutor before being elected at age 31 to the post of circuit judge of Hillsborough County, home to Tampa. Moody comes from a well-known Tampa Bay family and followed in the footsteps of her father, U.S. District Judge James Moody. I don't care about that. Serving in the Florida cabinet, she repeatedly advocated for law enforcement. Her husband, Justin Durillia, became the deputy police chief in Plant City. So there you go. She comes from a law enforcement background. This is another reason, but besides the fact that she is a female, and I'm sure, it helps DeSantis, score points with the news crowd and all that. This is the reason why she got the job. She is a Trump supporter. And I said this morning, one of the big things that has been highlighted and been emphasized by the Trump team this time around is people loyal to Trump need to be in these positions. They must be. It is all about being in the Trump circle, right? As from Meet the Fockers, the circle of trust. Who's in the Trump circle of trust? That's all it's about. Moody entered earned the reputation as a defender of the president-elect, notably when she joined 16 other Republican state attorney generals in signing onto a lawsuit. That's the Texas v. Pennsylvania lawsuit that was done by Ken Paxton, asking the Supreme Court to overturn the President Joe Biden's 2020 election win. In December, Moody's office obtained an arrest warrant for Ryan Weasley Routh, whom federal authorities accused of trying to assassinate Trump. Moody is pursuing criminal charges of attempted felony murder against Routh for the crash. So she is a huge supporter of Trump. She is a number one Trumpster. So that's why she got picked. She'd be Florida's second female senator after Republican Paula Harkin served in the chamber from 81 to 87. And she opposed ballot measures on abortion and marijuana. Moody's office unsuccessfully fought to disqualify the 2 measures from appearing on the 2024 ballot, one that would have expanded abortion rights. On this show, there is no such thing as abortion. It is the murder of children. That's how this show addresses it, and that's the bottom line. And another that would have legalized recreational marijuana in the state. Whatever, I don't care if you want to do it. The same thing. I don't want to compromise. You want to smoke cigarettes? You want to smoke weed? That's your life. It's going to ruin you. I get it, but that's your choice, man. I wouldn't advocate for it, but I can't control what you do. Moody accused supporters of the abortion proposal of waging a war to protect the procedure. She argued that the marijuana measures language that allows adults 21 years or older to possess, purchase, or use marijuana products was misleading because it didn't clarify that marijuana possession is still illegal. And she's kind of Florida royalty. I don't really care about that. If you ever want to hear Ashley Moody, here you go.
In Washington. And then I thought more about that. And I thought, if every person with the same energy, the same love, the respect for our founding principles, the ideals on which this country was built on, if every person like that with that personality said, I don't think I'd like serving in Congress, then we'd never change that culture. And so,
darling, you ain't changing nothing. I appreciate the sentiment.
You're probably right. I probably won't like it. But I'm ready to show up and fight for this nation and fight for President Trump to deliver the American First agenda on day one. What has angered me the most as Attorney General, as I have had to fight the Biden administration over the last 4 years, when we have seen policy after policy, after rule, after financial decisions, spending out of these agencies, as the agencies have gotten bigger, as they have taken more power, as they have tried to tell the states what to do more and more.
Absolutely. This poor woman is going to get destroyed by SNL. 100%, Steph. You are right on that.
More and more. All that does is take the will of the people, the want of the people through their elected representatives in Congress, and turns this into a country we don't even recognize anymore. And whether it's agencies making these decisions when lawmakers should, unelected bureaucrats, or whether it's international organizations making decisions, that our lawmakers should. We cannot stand for that. The only way to return this country to the people who govern it, is to make sure we have a strong Congress doing its job, passing.
Yeah, she does. She's not polished. I'll give her that. She's not polished. And so it comes off shill-like. Kind of like we were making fun of the female senators in the Democratic hearing the other day. But that's her. That's your next senator from Florida. She'll have the job as long as she wants. So it is what it is, man. It's politics. Some say, that's, you have to be a requirement for a Donnie supporter. I'm sure Obama was the same way. They always reward the people that are close to them. And so, yeah, I guess DeSantis only cares about getting the seat filled and getting somebody that'll be loyal to Donnie. I think that's, she will vote well. Yeah, she'll fall in line. She'll vote with the rest of them. And I think that's all that really matters. You don't want anybody you don't want anybody that has their, like, Thomas Massey opinions that will be so forth. Yeah, so before we go after Trump for his loyalties, so you have those things. Both sides reward their own. That's why I had some, like, one of those, I think. So yeah, there you go. That's the first story of the day. Let's move on, ladies and gentlemen, to the second story of the day. And this deals with the, is she one of those? I didn't see anything in that. I don't think she's against it, but I'm sure we will find out soon enough. Yeah. Steph, I think that's a very good point. DeSantis is thinking ahead, and he's trying to play nice to the MAGA base to see, because it's going to be between him and JD Vance. And he's trying to see if he can get back in the good graces of MAGA after a terribly run 2024 campaign. You could not script a worse campaign. Anyway, moving on. Next story of the day. Get me up here. So our second story comes to us from the New York Post. And the FBI is shuttering its DEI office after Trump's election win as critics demand a national security focus. And that's really the arrival of Kash Patel. So the FBI quietly closed its diversity, equity, and inclusion office a month after President-elect Donald Trump's 2024 victory, the Post has learned. So it's already been shut down. In recent weeks, the FBI took steps to close the Office of Diversity and Inclusion effective December 2024, a bureau said in the statement provided to the Post. Now, this show will make this one statement about DEI and why we don't like it. We don't like DEI on this show because it eliminates the best person for the position. It's that simple. It prioritizes genetics over intellect or ability. That's really what it is. Somebody can't get this job because somebody who was born with this skin color or this gender or, these sexual parts has to have this job. So you can't get it because this person has to have it. And when you have to when you have to fill slots, that leads to a lower standard. So that's all it's a simple way of saying this show, Rick Barrett and Rick Cass, does not like DEI because it prioritizes uncontrollable factors over things you can control. You can control how hard you work. You can control how smart you are. I think you can. There's only a certain level. If you're born a genius, you're born a genius. But if, a person of average intelligence can work hard, they can study hard, they can become a pretty good expert in their field, and they can help out society much better than a lazy genius. So the idea of DEI closing, why are we celebrating the fact that DEI is being shut down, is because it takes away the ineffectiveness of systems, which is a really clumsy way of saying the FBI should not be focused on having a, Black woman in a position that she's not qualified. Now, course, there's always the disclaimer: if a black woman can do the job, of course she should have the opportunity. But that comes back to the women in combat thing. They always try to say, well, if a woman can pass the standard, then she should be allowed to be it. The problem is when you do the research over and over and over again, at least the female combat thing, and I don't want to rehash that, it's shown that they can't. Now, women are very good in the medical field. Women are very good in the intelligence field. Women are very good. There's 1,000 places that they're good in. So why can't they flourish in those areas instead of being forced into areas where they're not and setting them up for failure? That's the whole thing behind the DEI, the reason we celebrate it. Let's see. In recent weeks, the FBI took steps to close the office of... I already read that. The federal law enforcement agency did not say what its motivation was to shutter the office, but the move follows Trump's campaign pledge to roll back DEI initiatives as the commander-in-chief. The Bureau has also come under intense scrutiny from Republicans in the aftermath of the January 1st New Orleans terrorist attack over fears that it prioritized DEI over national security. That just looks... Excuse me. That just is because you had like a 65-year-old grandma as the chief of police. I don't know if that's DEI or just nobody wants to be the chief of police in New Orleans. And then you had the FBI agent who came out and she was like, this isn't terrorism. And everybody else was like, yeah, it's terrorism. So that was a problem as well. So it is what it is in that regard. I think it's just the idea of they shouldn't be in a position that they're not supposed to be in. When I mean supposed to, is their level of intellect, is their level of skill matching the job they're in? And a lot of times we find they're not. Now, it's not a perfect system. She was 7,465 years old. At least that's what she looked like. But we're seeing this happen, and we're seeing other companies supposedly roll back these initiatives. Now I'm not going to read the rest of this because it's just going to be posturing and all these other kinds of stuff. The whole point is this. I think I just lost my train of thought. I did. But the idea behind all of this and why we're talking about it is that DEI looks like it's going to be rolled back, but you have to be very careful in these situations. You have a lot of companies, McDonald's and Walmart and whoever, they're all eliminating their DEI programs. And I always try to say, listen, the whole point, we're actually getting some chatter on the Twitter stream. Hey, I'm sorry, guys. I'm not paying attention, y'all. My bad. Hey, Rumblers. DEI and all these things may be eliminated, but guess what? They'll find their way. They'll burrow their way into other programs. They're never completely eliminated. From Twitter, DMK Ultra. DI is poison in the Fed world and Leos. I'm glad the tide is turning. I'm retired, but it was bad when I was in the military and feds and just got worse after I left in 2021. Yeah, I agree. And that's not because women are bad. It's because they're not built. There's tons of dudes who can do the job. If you ever meet me in life, you're going to be like, wow, you're like a dwarf. I am. I'm a tiny man. I'm 5'6". This is not news. We're not breaking any news here. People are shocked when I say I shouldn't be a cop. I should never have ever. Men my height should not be police officers. And I know there's a lot of short kings that will not be happy that I say that, but we may not be equipped as men, even if we're the strongest we can be, and we're a Batman, we're at our physical peak. I cannot, I mean, my physical peak is up for debate, but even at my physical peak, if I'm 28 years old and I'm jacked to the roof and everything else, I cannot, despite what any movie tells you, it's going to be very difficult for me to take down a 6'2", a 6'3" man all by myself. Now, of course, you could do like jujitsu and all these other kind of, but the natural things are just not there. So I'm not a huge fan of shorter gentlemen as police officers. Sorry, bros. I know it sucks because that eliminates, a job for us, but you have to do what's right for society. Yeah. Come on. Don't make fun of him. That's not mean. I mean, that's not nice. Whatever it is. I don't know. I've never met. I will. We will finally be able to take a picture of me and Anthony in a couple weeks. I'll make sure to wear my lifts. So the whole idea is DEI may be eliminated from these programs. Yes, 100%. 100%. I don't think, caveat, I don't think women should be street cops. Women want to be in investigations. They want to work in the office. Fine. Don't care. Can't be street cops. There's video after video after video after video after video after video of female cops being overpowered. And I'm trying to figure out, or maybe I'll ask the chat. Guys who listened to my show way back in the day, who is the female Dallas police officer that walked into the wrong apartment and shot the guy? If you can tell me who that person is, that's my prime example of why women should not be on the street, quote unquote, because they don't have the physical strength. And don't give me if they can pass the standard. It's not Shira is not walking the force, right? She's not there. She's not serving the beat. She-Hulk is not real. So that's the problem with that. Xena Warrior Princess is not going to show up to a 911 call. And so that's what it is. And it's a tough job. It's a bad job. So it's just, and the problem with females, and I will give this to men as well, like shorter men, if the power in the police officer, the power of the law enforcement officer is somebody compliant with the law. Once they are not compliant and the force continuum is enacted, smaller men and females find it difficult to do physical restraints. And then maybe the stun gun doesn't work, or maybe the shotgun doesn't work, right? Or the electric gun or the taser doesn't work. And so they have to automatically go to the most deadly thing they have, the thing that they can enforce, and that's a gun. And so I'm not a fan of short dudes or females, and I am, in case you didn't know, and you can address me as this if you ever meet me, I am the short emperor. There are short kings, and then there's the short emperor. I am he. You are welcome. So congratulations. You have all met royalty. I am the short emperor. As the short emperor, I have decreed that you cannot have small male cops. It sucks. I get it, but it can't happen. And so that way I'm actually leveling the field. No small cops, no small men, no females. You can't have those in that position. And so it is what it is. And these DEI programs may be quote unquote eliminated, but their language is going to burrow themselves into, I mean, you could call me Napoleon if you want. I don't take that as an insult. Napoleon took over all of Europe. So like Napoleon gets a bad rap. I ain't worried about that. Steph, I ain't worried about being called Napoleon. I am the emperor. But the DEI language may not have its own section. What are you doing? DEI may not have its own section, but its language will find its way throughout the rest of the manuals. So you got to be careful with that. You can't celebrate the fact that the DEI programs do not go away. They don't. They just don't go away. I am calling myself an emperor. Somebody will. Somebody has to take the position. Somebody has to lead, Steph. And I have it on good authority that I have a divine right to be the emperor, the short emperor. So it is what it is. Anyway, I know. Someday my rule will be recognized. Until then. So it is what it is in that regard. Great that this stuff's being eliminated, but don't think that it's going away completely because it finds itself into other areas. Yeah, we kind of babbled on a little bit there. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Next story, Joe Biden's farewell address, a moment that presidents look forward to, but they don't look forward to. On the one hand, they look forward to it because it's something that they get to put in their presidential museum, and it's something they ever they get looked over for it. But on the other hand, that means their time is over. A lot of presidents are known based off of their farewell address. A lot of stuff is not talked about in regards to President Eisenhower, but Eisenhower is known because of the military-industrial complex as a part of his speech. So you have that. So congratulations. I'm going to actually give you a real quick. Here's Joe Biden's farewell address. There you go. Ha 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 ha. That's funny. It's true. That's pretty much what it was. And I feel bad for Joe in this regard. On the one hand, he's a terrible person. On the other hand, the guy was so articulate. He was really good in his younger days. He was really good. He was off the cuff. He was a politician. And to have his final farewell address, the thing he'll be known for most likely, a stumbling, bumbling mess of words that nobody could really understand, you got to have a little bit of empathy for the guy. I mean, a little bit. I don't have a ton, but I have a little bit. Anyway, history is in your hands. Biden tells Americans ahead of farewell address, which came in at about 9 minutes. President Biden praised his administration's accomplishments and called on Americans to continue building on its progress in a letter to the public Wednesday, shortly before he's slated to leave. Biden's primetime remarks will focus on defining his legacy, which was taking credit for the Israel-Gaza deal that he didn't broker, taking credit for an economy that was only good because they stopped having the COVID mandates. It's like, we created 17 million jobs. That's because you allowed people to go back to work. That's not really, you didn't create anything. And you didn't create American jobs. If you look at the statistics, it was all foreign workers. That was the job boom. If you look at native born workers, it was almost a flat line. It didn't really make any kind of difference. Biden's address not only marks the end of his presidency, but the culmination of a decades-long career in public service, saying, quote, "It's been a privilege of my life to serve this nation over 50 years. I've given my heart and soul to our nation." I mean, there's really not much else to talk about in this regard. He wanted to talk about lowering inflation, lowering prescription drug costs, expanding healthcare, health insurance access. None of this stuff is provable, and none of this stuff is memorable. That's the problem. It's okay to be one of the worst presidents in history. It's okay to be one of the best presidents in history. You know what it's not okay to be? One of those in the middle that nobody remembers. There are 45, because Garfield did it twice too, on non-consecutive terms. There's been 45 presidents, and most people can name maybe 6 or 7. Washington, Jefferson, Adams, maybe. Lincoln, FDR, Obama, Bush, Trump, Biden. Just the ones in their lifetime. So you don't want to be one of those in the middle that everybody's like, who was the 32nd president? Oh, yeah, it was that guy. And then you look at their accomplishments and they're like, oh, they didn't do nothing. Not that they're supposed to. They're elected kings, but that's the problem. He's trying to distinguish himself, and there's nothing to distinguish. And unfortunately, he's going to be more known for that 10-second clip, that being the bumbling old man, despite what the liberal historians are going to try and do, than any kind of transformative figure. Now, that was part of the deal. The deal was, we know you're an old man, but we know you can beat Trump in the 2020 election. I feel like the entire time the deal was, Biden, you've always wanted to be president. We're going to get you in for one term. You're going to defeat Trump. That's going to be your legacy, defeating Trump in 2020. Then you're going to be a transitional president for Kamala or for Big Mike or for whoever. And he didn't want to do that when he announced his re-election campaign because of Jezebel Jill. And that's when the whole thing went off. And then they had to replace him. And then Kamala stepped in and it was just an absolute mess. So you had that problem as well. So that's it. All right. Finally, let's have some fun on the way out, ladies and gentlemen. Let me see. Get me up here. And this is probably going to get me. I'm not going to get copyrighted because look, this is what we call the fair use statute. Hello, YouTube. Hello, Disney. This is what we call fair use. I'm going to look at this trailer and critique said trailer because that's what we do. And you released it so people can look at it. And I'm going to do so. So fair use, fair use. I'm trying to make sure the algorithm hears this. Fair use. All right. With that out of the way, I was a huge fan of the original Disney, not Disney, the Netflix Daredevil. I thought it was amazing. Daredevil has always been one of my favorites. Daredevil, The Punisher, and Spider-Man were my 3 favorites growing up. And so seeing him I actually don't mind the Ben Affleck Daredevil movie, especially the extended cut. If you've ever seen it, it's actually not bad. And so it's interesting to see this one revived after it was canceled. It's been reshot multiple times because the first time it went through, they're like, this is crap and everybody's going to trash us. Not that Disney cares because they've been crapping on their own IP for so long. But this one dropped today and people went, And you're going to see right now.
Thank you for finding the time. I will admit, it's not entirely unpleasant seeing you again. A lot of time has passed.
A lot of people will say, now I had to do this so that way I don't get my channel struck down. A lot of people, we did the Superman trailer a couple weeks ago. They needed that to be a knockout. And it was kind of lukewarm. This one is being universally praised for at least maintaining the tone of the Netflix shows as best as possible. It's good to see the 3 from the original Netflix show back together, although he needs to get fat again because like this, being in shape thing, yeah, that don't work. You got to be fat Foggy.
By the look of it.
Foggy. That's what I said. His name's Foggy Nelson. Y'all get your head out of the gutter.
You've come up in the world.
I could say the same about you.
The mayor serves his city. I can see you're not entirely convinced.
Can you blame me? I can't shake the feeling that you're gaming the system.
Why did you stop being a vigilante?
I have to admit too, Lou, I'm a big fan of Vincent D'Onofrio, despite how much of a woke idiot he is. I don't care if you're an actor and you're a woke idiot. Just don't be Mark Ruffalo. Yeah, it would be. It would. I mean, that's how low the standard is.
The line was crossed.
It's hard to come to terms with a violent nature. Hating the power it has over us.
This city can't go unchecked.
Sometimes peace needs to be broken. And chaos.
Yeah, I hope that's not
must reign.
Am I putting the hatchet down?
Now, I will say, John Bernthal is not the physical size of the Punisher. The Punisher is supposed to be like 6'4". He's supposed to be like this ginormous force of a man. But John Bernthal's awesome, A. And B, he embodies the attitude. So I'm going to let it slide. Also, yeah, there's that quick sneak. Hopefully you have VidAngel or whatever the case may be. And you can just skip through that.
I was raised to believe in grace. But I was also raised to believe in retribution.
Yeah. That's, I agree. Brian, you're right. I don't think anybody ever cared. I don't care if you're a lib. I really don't. I wish you weren't. Like Steph's here. We love Steph. Steph's here. She's our resident. Steph is our resident lib. She's our lib in chief. And we love having her. And we love the stuff that she brings. With Daredevil, he's blind. He's blind. He had an accident when he was a young one, and all of his other senses were hyper. They became super. Like he has like a radar and he can hear all the. He's pretty cool. He's not super strong. He's not super fast. His powers are that he's blind, but everything else, all his other senses are like top physical peak of what your senses can be. So yes, he can see with the mask on. That's why he fights with glasses on, not because he's super cool. But he is super cool. But yeah, nobody ever cared if you were a lib. Just be like, hey, yeah, I think you should vote for, I'm going to vote for Kamala because of this. Not Mark Ruffalo, who just screams how much he hates everybody and just is an annoying jerk. I was going to say something else, but he's just a jerk. So yeah, looks interesting. I don't have Disney Plus. So I'm going to have to wait for the reviews on it and see what happens there and maybe like buy it. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I know I said earlier in the show, I boycott Disney Plus, and I do. If it's decent product, you support it. Maybe in that idea, they start turning around to making better stuff. I don't know. That's a different discussion for a different day. But at least it's a good promo. So it did its job and it got people. Oh, I know. Oh, dude. MK Ultra, that was so cringe. You know what the most disgusting thing was? Like Robert Downey Jr. was kind of like the conservative of all those groups because he even had a quote. He's like, when you've been to prison, you can't be a liberal anymore. Dude, I guess that Disney money changes them. And like, it's Mark Ruffalo, dude. He's just like that loser that makes everybody else do it. I just can't stand him. But yeah, I haven't watched a Marvel property. Well, I watched the Marvels movie with Brie Larson on a plane once because I couldn't sleep, and I was hoping that would put me to sleep, but it didn't. And it was fine. It was just like colors and shapes on a 12-hour flight. But I haven't paid for a Marvel product since Endgame. How long? That was pre-jab COVID. So I haven't supported it, and it's really sad. I wouldn't support any of that. But we'll see how people respond to it. People who have Disney Plus and all that stuff. All right, folks, that's it for this episode of Rickcast. I am the aforementioned Rick. Buy my book, The Armed Catholic, The Catholic Case for Guns and Self-Defense at Amazon.com. It's a great book. Everybody loves it. And if you want, I will meet you, Carolina Men's Conference.com, Catholic Carolina Men's Conference.com, February 8th. You can join Anthony from Avoiding Babylon and me at the conference. I would show it, but I X'd it out like an idiot. Maybe I can find it real quick. That's the Axios article, Carolina. There it is. See, that's all I got to do. Yes, we got to wait to see if we're human. Not helping. Thank you. So you go to CatholicMenOfTheCarolinas.org, CatholicMenOfTheCarolinas.org, February 8th. I'm going to be there along with Robin Anthony and Enoch and John Frankman and John Edwards, along with the Bishop of Charleston. It's going to be a great time, and I hope to see you there as well. Get your tickets now. All right, ladies and gentlemen, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit all the buttons to help this show grow. It is growing, and it's thanks to you. If you're on the X machine, hit the follow, hit the retweets to help grow the sample size as well. I will talk to you all tomorrow, which will be Friday. It's Friday's show. It's going to be fun because a lot of y'all, it's the weekend for you guys and it's time to get out. So thank you for hanging out with me. I will talk to you all tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central Time here on Rickcast. And until he is out of prison, free Dexter Taylor.